This message is for all of you sitting in the passenger seat, and apologies if it gets a little uncomfortable, but how does it feel to be at the mercy of someone who thinks a random text is more important?
Good morning. I'm Alana.
I'm Sierra.
We work with the MSPI
and Domestic Violence Prevention Initiative.
And we're here today to talk to you about dating violence. So most domestic violence, date rape, and other relationships assaults can be prevented, stopped through knowing and using relationships safety strategies and skills. The following information from the Full Power Relationship Safety Skills Handbook for Teens and Adults. You can go to www.kidpower.org. We will begin talking about personal safety skills. What are the common questions? So here we go. Personal safety skills will not solve the social causes of domestic and dating violence, and they will not work all the time. But these skills can help people avoid getting into a destructive relationship, make the best of a bad situation, persevere their sense of self-worth, and keep looking for a way to get help. Here are some answers to common questions about violence in intimate relationships, plus detailed strategies for assessing potential abuse or violence in relationships, and how to make and carry out effective safety plans for the adults and any children who also may be affected.
What is meant when we say domestic or dating violence? Domestic violence can be defined to include any threatening, abusive, or violent behavior in the home, including between adult children and other adult family members, and also what we're focusing on today, which is teen dating violence. However, most people use the term to mean that this behavior is used by one intimate partner to establish power and control over the other partner through fear and intimidation. Dating or relationship violence means that this behavior is directed by one person towards another in a dating relationship.
Who is affected by relationship violence? The National Intimate Partner and Sexual Violence Survey conducted in 2010 by the Centers for Disease Control found that more than 1 in 3 women and 1 in 4 men in the U.S. are survivors of relationship violence in their lifetime. Relationship violence can happen anywhere to anyone of any race, religion, culture, or economic status. Domestic violence affects both partners, their children, other family members, friends, and colleagues. Domestic and dating violence can occur in any intimate relationship, including same-sex relationships and including by women towards men. Although emotional abuse in a relationship can happen equally, regardless of gender, the more threatening and dangerous forms of domestic and dating violence are usually committed by a man against a woman. For this reason, we'll be referred to the person in the aggressor role as male and to the person in the victim role as female. Often the aggressor in a violent relationship feels a high level of ownership over the other partner, which too often results in injury or death if this person tries to end the relationship. Unfortunately, children are also harmed by witnessing violence in their families.
What about the social issues involved? Despite the exceptions, gender is very relevant in understanding the social issues that lead to domestic violence. There is a common perception in many societies that domestic violence is the woman's fault. While its perception is changing, this belief is often shared by women as well as by men. In some cultures, women are still not allowed to make choices about whom they marry and whether or not they will stay in a relationship.
What if a victim of domestic violence refuses to leave? We teach our students that leaving a threatening or dangerous situation is always the safest choice. At the same time, adults who are dealing with violent partners have to make their own decisions. There are many obstacles that make it hard for an abused partner to walk away from the relationship. In order to leave an abuser, you must have to be able to put your own well-being above the love she might feel for the abuser. The victim has to know where to go, how to get help, how she or he will survive economically, how she or he has to overcome the isolation and shame of having failed to persevere the relationship. Victims also often believes that the failure is their fault. Too often, a man or a woman will not be heavily punished by murder if the person murdered is his wife. Realistically, there are fears when leaving because of threats. The goal is safety, to empower people to make their own choices, even if we do not agree with them personally or might not make the same choices ourselves. People will not leave an abusive relationship until they are ready.
What if personal safety skills would not have helped? Many times, an individual will tell terrifying stories of situations that sound hopeless. Maybe a woman was locked into a room while her partner threatened to set the house on fire. Maybe they overpowered them or had a weapon. Often, that sounds terrible. I am very sad that this happened to you. The fact that you are here means that you did many things right. Personal skills can give you more tools, but nothing works all the time. Acknowledging someone's feelings and reality makes everyone more open to learning other possibilities.
Doesn't telling people that they might have done things differently make it sound as if what happened was their fault? Most of us can look back to the times when we wish we had known how to do things differently. We try to keep anyone who has been victimized by violence or abuse from blaming themselves by being very clear and saying, if someone tries to control you through saying cruel things, making threats, or acting dangerously towards you, it is not your fault. An abusive partner, destructive behavior is not your responsibility. However, you can learn how to manage most problem situations in ways that will make things safer for you rather than more dangerous. Could personal safety skills help someone not be abusive? It is not easy for someone who is used to feeling powerful and in control through dominating another person to change those behaviors. There is a sense of entitlement that has some aspects of addictive behavior. Just wishing and making promises will not be effective. Deep, consistent commitment to stopping ingrained patterns through therapy and support group is essential. As part of this process, people who have trouble controlling their tempers can benefit from practice in reacting without aggression to situations that have triggered them in the past.
What role does alcohol and drug abuse play in domestic and dating violence? Substance abuse leads to loss of control, and any loss of control is likely to escalate a potentially violent situation. Both parents in a violent relationship are more likely to lose their temper or panic if they are drunk or high. Many people in treatment for alcohol and drug recovery are also survivors of perpetrators of violence and abuse, and sometimes have been in both roles.
What are the important personal safety skills, and what about fighting back? The most important personal safety skills that we want students to practice include assessing the person's behavior and being aware of potential danger signs,
which are excessive jealousy, constant checking in with you or making you check in with him or her, attempts to isolate you from friends or family, insulting or putting down people that you care about, is too serious about the relationship too quickly, has had a lot of bad prior relationships and blames all of the problems on the previous partners, is very controlling. This may include giving you orders, telling you what to wear, and trying to make all of the decisions for you, blames you when he or she treats you badly by telling you all of the ways you provoked him or her, does not take responsibility for their own actions, has an explosive temper or blows up a lot, pressures you into sexual activity with which you are not comfortable, has a history of fighting, hurting animals, or brags about mistreating other people, believes strongly in stereotypical gender roles for males and females. You worry about how your partner will react to the things you say, or you are afraid of provoking your partner, owns or uses weapons, refuses to let you end the relationship.
Getting centered to calm themselves down so that they can think clearly and make safer choices instead of thinking of panicking or escalating the argument. Protecting themselves emotionally rather than being triggered or coerced by the mean things someone says to them. Using verbal self-defense tactics to diffuse a potentially violent interaction. Protecting themselves physically without fighting back. Creating a safety plan for how to leave and for how to get help.
Paying attention to danger signals when dating or courting. Our workshops are skills-based, and we focus on practicing what to say and what to do rather than discussing issues. However, the following information can be helpful in structuring practices to be realistic for students who are in the early stages of a potentially violent relationship. Looking back to the beginning of the relationship, some survivors of domestic or dating violence will say that they saw many signals that there were problems, that they did not recognize as trouble at the time because they were, quote, too much in love or too lonely, or really wanted the relationship to work out. At any phase of an intimate relationship, personal safety means learning to separate superficial appearance and actions from what really counts in terms of someone's character. Many people are seduced into loving someone because of how they look, how they dress, the loving, sweet things they say, the gifts they give, the excitement of fun and being with them, the economic security they offer, and the prestige they may have or seem to have. None of these qualities will lead to a safe, positive relationship unless the man or woman also consistently treats them and others with respect and caring. Does he or she treat you as if you belong to yourself, or do they act possessive of you? Does he or she seem positive about the attention you get from others, or do they seem jealous of it? Does he or she insist that you do nothing affectionate or sexual towards him unless you truly feel like it, or does he or she try to pressure you into doing more than you want? Does he or she encourage you to spend time with friends and family, or do they try to separate you from others who are important to you? Does he or she take full responsibility for their behavior, or do they tell you they cannot help themselves because they love you so much? Does he or she encourage you to be independent, or do they try to get you to be dependent on them? Does he or she do his full share of the work in the house and with money, or do they expect you to pay for them or do most of the work?
Women are often taught that a man or a woman being possessive, jealous, demanding, needy, or wanting them all to themselves means that they care. The truth is that a man or a woman believing that a woman or man is his property is dangerous. One excellent predictor of someone's future behavior towards any of us is that person's behavior towards others. Useful assessment questions are: how does he or she act towards others? What does he or she do when he or she is mad at someone or upset about something? Does he or she take responsibility for their share when things go wrong with another person, or their story that everything is the other person's fault? Do they try to make the person feel sorry for him or her because of all the hard luck he or she has done with the other people? Another important assessment tool is to notice what someone is like when he or she is disappointed, frustrated, or not getting what they want. Are they unhappy but respectful, or do they become aggressive? We tell young women and men who are dating, even if someone is wonderful to you, it is a danger signal if they are mean or threatening to others, or if they blame others instead of taking responsibility. Act as if you're extremely allergic to any sign of possessiveness, emotional coercion, or threat. Remember that you do not owe loyalty or love to someone who endangers you.
Here are some of the practices to use when talking with your teen for dating situations. Taking the power out of positive triggers, which can blind them to potentially destructive behavior, as well as negative ones, which can cause them to freeze or escalate. Protecting themselves emotionally from words like stuck up, bad word. Leaving and saying, I am not interested. Saying clearly and firmly, I do not want to go out with you. Not giving in to emotional coercion or feeling guilty even if someone is very sad. Pulling away, getting into a strong posture, and saying in a firm, loud, calm voice, this is not okay with me, I'm leaving now. Pushing someone away and saying, I am going home now. Resisting pressure and saying, my no means no. Sitting in an imaginary car and saying in a loud voice over and over, take me home. My parents know where I am. Take me home now.
Assessing what is normal and what is dangerous in a relationship is normal for people who care about each other to get upset with each other sometimes. People in healthy relationships sometimes yell and say mean things that they later wish they had not. In healthy couples, each partner accepts his or her share of responsibility for what went wrong, apologies, and hopefully learns to deal with the conflict in less upsetting ways. Yelling and saying mean things in a conflict is not the same as someone trying to control another person through violence. Violence can include threatening language about hurting the person or someone they care, physically, economically, and legally. Aggressive gestures such as shaking or fist or picking up a knife, destructive behaviors such as throwing or breaking things up or driving recklessly, physical domination such as shoving and shaking, sexual assault through forced sexual contact of any kind, physical attacks such as hitting, pinching, forcing the person into submissive or degrading positions, or kicking. If this behavior happens, apologies and regrets are not enough. The odds are that anyone who has used threatening or violent behavior to control a relationship is very likely to do it again. Change is possible.
Surviving while still living with the abusive partner. There are resources to get both partners help. Here are some of the practices to do with your teen that can be helpful in domestic violence situations. Becoming centered by having them imagine being upset and then taking a moment to breathe and feel their bodies. Moving and standing with awareness, calm, and confidence. Using their imaginations to throw away the hurtful, scary things that an abusive partner says instead of taking this in as the truth about themselves. Identifying and taking the power out of their triggers so that they are able to make choices instead of automatically reacting to what someone says or does. Saying nice things to themselves to counteract the mean things that have been said to them. Letting an aggressive person have the last word without feeling like they have given away their power. Setting firm, polite, respectful boundaries.
Making a safety plan for how to get help if there is an emergency. Being persistent and effective in asking for help from people who do not want to get involved. Making a report to police officers in a way that is calm and factual rather than sounding out of control. I was attacked. I had to defend myself. I need to talk with an advocate. Often, students get caught up in wanting the control behavior of their abusive partner. They do not want to let him or her go with being unfair or making the horrible statements. We tell our students, yes, it is true that no one has the right to talk to you in cruel or threatening ways. It is normal to want to get even or try to stop someone from saying something awful to you. It is important to remember that you can feel one way and act another. Instead of trying to win an argument, it is safer to stay calm and say calm things.
Some verbal tactics you can practice with your teen are to go to a safe place for the moment. Is there a neighbor, family member, or friend you can take your children to stay with until things blow over? To leave with love. Is it dangerous to scream? It is dangerous to scream, I hate you and I never want to see you again. Instead, go to a safer place by saying quietly and warmly, I love you and I want us all to be safe. I will come back when you feel better. To lie. You do not owe an attacker the truth. You can lie and say whatever the person wants to hear about your feelings or your plans. To distract. Have a plan ready if someone is about to blow up. A distraction could be someone important to your abusive partner, who you have asked to expect a call so you can say your brother called with some exciting news and be able to count on the brother coming through. A distraction could be to bring up a topic that will get him to focus on outside problems like politics. A distraction could be having a favorite food. To offer a face-saving way out. Some people will fight to the death to preserve their image of themselves as being powerful and in control. Instead of arguing, it can be more effective to agree with an abusive partner who is being unreasonable, in order to buy some time and calm the situation down. Yes, it's all my fault. I'm sorry. I will come back later.
Getting out of the relationship and staying out. This is information to keep in mind when teaching youth who are getting ready to leave or who have just left. When an individual plans to end an abusive relationship, this can be a very dangerous time. Once the youth has left, common issues that can make it hard to stay out of the relationships are feeling sorry for an abuser, ex-partner, guilt about the sadness of her siblings, family, or relatives, fear about being able to make it on their own, being told by other family members that they are a disgrace, that she has been a disgrace, members that she or he has disgraced them for not succeeding in making the relationships work. Help your teen practice protecting themselves from negative thoughts and beliefs, saying positive things to themselves and stopping and thinking instead of reacting. Have them define what support means to them and have them practice being effective and persistent in asking for help. Also create a safety plan such as talk to relatives, trusted adults, teachers, aunts, uncles. Be somewhere you feel safe and get numbers. If you're being victimized or even just have questions, please call the Behavioral Health Department at 698-2106. We can help answer questions and find support. If you're in a crisis, you can call the crisis line at 419-1036. If it is an emergency, call the police. Thanks. We did that in about 20 minutes.
Yeah, it's not bad.
I'll show you. This is a weekly show.
Oh.
Oh, so next week from Thursday, or on Thursday from 10 to 10:30, you will hear some information about the crisis line that we just mentioned. And I believe Dr. Gail Mason, the director of the Behavioral Health Department, will be here to fill in some answers to questions about the crisis line.
So if there's people out there now that have questions, they can call and they can come in. Is there any process way that we can get the referral?
There's several ways. If you have been victimized, you can go to CATO and they will actually contact us. There's a lot of support. There's actually a victims advocate in the tribal police, and that's Rhonda Compeska, so she would be able to assist you with getting restraining orders and whatnot. There's also a sexual assault victims advocate, and that's Winona Parizo, and if you do go to CATO, she will be contacted as well as us. So if you are ready to get out of a relationship of this type, know that there are resources, and you will be protected and kept safe.
Not only that, MSPI has really great staff there. You know, they're understanding, they're compassionate. There is help. And if you are out there and you're listening to this, you know, we are here to help. I know it can be a very scary situation. Sometimes you feel alone. You know, who can I really talk to? And I'm talking to my mom, or I'm talking to my dad, or my grandpa. You know, you feel like nobody believes you. You know, MSPI here, we do have wonderful staff, and we will listen to you. We will help you. And there is a lot of resources out there that can help. I'm assuming we're going to be working into the schools with this.
Yep, there'll be resources reaching out to the schools. I also wanted to touch on, before I forget, that if you are a person that has anger issues, or that sometimes is not able to keep their anger under control, or you've been abusive, there's a group for males on Thursdays and Tuesdays and Thursdays at the Behavioral Health Department, and that's run by Delbert Hopkins, and you can contact us at 698-2106 to get information on that, or just come in and you can fill some paperwork out and join that group. So there's help not just for victims of domestic violence, but also if you've been a victimizer, we can help. There is support for trying to learn new behaviors and skills. Thank you very much for listening, and I hope you contact us if we can help you in any way. We'll also be posting some of this information on the KXSW page on Facebook.
Hello? Is Jake here? Yeah, he's in the living room. Okay, thank you.
Where the hell have you been?
I was out with my sister. I didn't think I need your permission.
Well, you don't need my permission, but you can call once in a while.
I'm sorry, I was having dinner with my sister.
With your sister? What about that John guy, whatever his name is?
John, my ex?
He's been calling for you. Why is he calling for you?
I don't know. Maybe to ask for a favor? I don't know.
What kind of favor, huh?
I don't know.
Why does your ex need a favor
I don't
from
need
you?
to tell you anything!
You slut!
Every 9 seconds, a woman is being beaten in the United States. We also have the problem here on the reservation. A big problem. Some of our people have forgotten that women and children are sacred. Violence against women takes away from all of our people. It's time to remember who we are.
Hey, it's me, Jake. Just, can you call me back when you get this, please? I
Need you, I miss you, I love you, and I'm sorry.
We are Lakota people, and domestic violence is not part of our way of life. For more information, contact Oglala Sioux Tribe Victim Services. Oglala Sioux Tribe Department of Public Safety.